Good evening. Laura Donnelly here with Strange and Interesting Times, day 162. And I'm going to talk about a couple of things. Strange and Interesting Times comes to you via Dancing with Ease Body Brain Balance, which is the work I do, sharing with people, consulting and teaching processes to calm your emotions, your mind, your physical body. And it's a really very, very gentle and deeply healing process. If you'd like more information, put a note in the comments or just send me a message and we'll get in touch. And today I wanted to share some ways that you could get yourself off the emotional roller coaster. Or yesterday we talked about this whole getting kind of locked into an emotional situation with people we care about or work with, like being in a bumper car rink. So also I was thinking of a roller derby today too. All of these situations, like the roller coaster, you're in this thing that goes up and down, and you're in the car. You got yourself in the car, right? If you go for a ride on a roller coaster, you put yourself on the roller coaster. So it's a kind of a good analogy. And when the ride's over, you can get off. But somehow we get stuck in these situations that go up and down, and they are scary, they're exciting, they're challenging, they cause us to be really hyper-focused and intense. When I was growing up, I had some things happen, and I learned to be really good in a crisis. And when I got to be in my 20s, I realized that sometimes I would sort of support the making of a crisis so that I could go into my hyper-functioning mode. So this would be what I would call deliberately getting on the roller coaster. So instead, now I like to take my time and choose to ride a roller coaster just for fun, not to be sucked into other people's energy and what do I call it? Upsets, adventures, drama. Well, people would just call it drama. There's like way too much drama in this situation or whatever. And that's you could hear it in my voice. It's kind of a code word for what's going on. And people might say something like, oh, well, there's just a lot of drama in my job. And, and kind of dismiss it as if they didn't participate in that in some way, as if it didn't affect them. But this kind of drama does affect us, and often we are participating in it, either willingly or against our will. So, as with almost everything about the body-brain balance process, understanding this, whether you're on the roller coaster, at any point you can start to pay attention and notice what's happening. You can do it while the roller coaster is chugging uphill, and it can be kind of slow and kind of boring, and it's chugging up the hill. Or you can, notice it as you're cresting the hill, or you can have a flash of awareness while it's dropping down there into that deep dive. Anything can capture your attention, and you can say, oh, this is that roller coaster thing. This is an emotional roller coaster. And then you start to notice what are the results of being on an emotional roller coaster for you. Like I said, I was pretty good at functioning under intense pressure. Probably made me a good performer, because a lot of pressure getting ready for performance, and it's like building up, and it's a lot of energy and a containment. And I could work with that energy, and I felt like I could direct it in the direction I wanted to go and use it productively. But then I'd be really exhausted after the performances. And I thought that was a letdown from performance. And I would have a little recovery period, and then I would get back into another rehearsal phase and do the whole thing again. Also, I do taxes during tax season, which I tell people is exactly like a performance. Lots of buildup. Well, actually, an individual tax return is like a performance. You take a lot of information from a lot of different sources and you put it together in a very neat package and you present it to someone. And if you're successful, you don't get audited. Yes. Um, so it's like a little performance of numbers and paperwork. But the whole tax season also is like a performance. It has a build-up period. It has like an extra busy period. It slows down and then it peaks up at the end and you're really busy. Except for this year, it was all different. This year it was all different. But that's okay. We're surviving. And the energy of that is an energy I'm familiar with. So if I am being caught up in other people's energy in that, then I have choices once I realize it. Then I get to look at the situation and then I can say, okay, do I want to stop this and get off? Do I want to stay on it, but not panic and scream and yell? You know, half the fun of a roller coaster ride is like, you know, putting your hands up, not holding the bar as it goes way down. And, you know, half the fun of it is the excitement and the fear. And this is why a lot of times our emotions get on a track and they run us around like a roller coaster. Our body and our brain get used to that up and down energy in a kind of habitual way. It releases a lot of endorphins and other things in our system, and we kind of get addicted to it. You know, I mean, I hate to say it, but some people are addicted to being angry. You may know some in your life. You might be one, but it's like a default go-to. Something goes wrong, and anger is the first emotion. Now, somebody said anger is like the easiest emotion. Hey, Mary, it's good to see you. And that anger is the easiest one, the fastest one, the like the first level and the least complex emotion. But there can be other emotions. I had a friend when I was younger, and she was a really wonderful person, very creative and talented and smart and kind. And her default emotional pattern was sadness. And almost anything that upset her could trip her into an episode of going around on her sadness roller coaster. And it had a flow and a track and a beginning and a middle and a kind of a conclusion. And so we were close for a long time, and then we both moved in different directions, and I haven't seen her for a really long time. And so I don't know how she's dealing with that, if she's still dealing with it or not. But I think I shared earlier that I used to use getting angry as a way to charge up my energy in my system. And and there were a few things that I knew I could start a conversation with my brother about a certain topic, and I knew it would go into the direction of anger. And then we would get mad, and then I would have all this, and then I would redirect it to some project I wanted to finish that I thought took a lot of energy. Then I realized I was kind of using my brother in a pretty unhealthy way and using my emotions in an unhealthy way. And so I had to become aware of that. And the way we become aware of this stuff is just gently looking, seeing what's happening, noticing when there's a pattern. A pattern is a habit often. A pattern could be something that reoccurs, like getting up at 6 in the morning every morning. That's a pattern if you have to get up at that time to get ready to go to work. But then if you teach your body to wake up at 6 every morning, then it wakes up at 6 when it's the weekend and you didn't have to get up at 6, but it's become a biorhythmic habit. And this can also happen with emotions. You can have a biorhythmic habit, just like we have, like if you have sugar and coffee, like if you have a coffee break with a donut every morning at 10:30, then if you have a morning when you don't have that, your body's blood sugar has been trained to drop before that 10:30 time and to be anticipating the uprush of the caffeine and the sugar. Same thing can happen with our emotions. And so if we have people, like if we work in a situation, we say, well, when every time this person does this, it's blah, 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 then you know that this bothers you and you wait for the person to do this so that you can go off. That's a habit. But if you know this thing that the person you work with, 6:30, never able to sleep in. Yeah, I have somebody who says that, Mary, who says that if they sleep too long, it makes their body stiff and sore. I don't have that problem. I am blessed with good sleeping. So we notice what we do. We notice what our habits are. We decide if these habits are effective, if they're useful. Almost no pattern or habit that we develop is created because it's bad for us. It just becomes bad for us over time. You know, it was originally created because it was a solution to a problem. Then it became easy, became default, and then we use it as the solution to every problem, which is sometimes the human system is funny and it thinks that this is expedient. But really, what we need to do for every problem is to stay present and to address that problem, each unique problem, with a unique solution. So if you know there's something that kind of trips your switch, and that's interesting. I'm thinking, okay, are we sitting on our roller coaster track all the time? And then we just wait for the go switch to be tripped before it starts to go? And that might be how things start out. That might be how we are when we first realize that we've been on an emotional roller coaster. We might just need to stop the little cars from moving before we get off. Well, actually, you better stop them before you get off, or you might fall off at the top giant tower, and that would be a disaster. So we want to stop the car. We stop the car by pausing. And we notice what are the switches that turn it on and get it to go. And these could be different for every person. They could be similar. And at first, you're not going to be able to resist the start switch. Whatever trips that switch to go, you're not going to be able to resist it at first because it's a habit. And habits are strong. And habits are like a groove that we get into. So every time you notice that it's starting, you just come back to yourself and you pause. When you pause, the habit can't get going. The habit needs our agreement or willingness to go. It can try to stop and we can say, it can try to start and we can say stop. It can try to start and we can say stop. And this can go on and go on. And if that happens, that's a little fatiguing, but it is a great, great awareness. Because every time we stop, it's just like if you make a fist and you're squeezing tighter and tighter and tighter and you stop squeezing. That's just a little bit easier. And then if it starts to squeeze again, and then we stop. It's going to squeeze again and we stop. It's okay. This is how we notice what's happening and how we make a choice and we make a change. And before too long, the switch that trips the whole thing to going, the trip switch, it'll go and you'll laugh instead. Because what happens when the switch goes is you check in and see how easy you feel. And so instead of starting the car and zipping up the track, the switch goes and you laugh. And then you make a choice about what to do. And that choice might be to change direction. That choice might be to get out of the roller coaster car altogether. Or just for fun, you might see if you could go around the track on the roller coaster without getting carried away, without screaming, without yelling, without getting afraid. That's kind of advanced, and it's really hard because the old habits kick up at certain points in the process. But the first step, start to be aware. Start to be aware of how you feel when you're caught up in an emotional cycle that's taking you for a ride. It's taking you for a ride. You aren't taking it for a ride. It's taking you for a ride. And when you notice you're being taken for a ride, just notice and start to notice what initiated that. Start to notice the flow of that. Where are the peaks and where are the valleys and how does it end? And with that information, you start to have a good idea of the points at which you can make a change. And eventually you'll be able to know what starts the train off on its little track, and you'll be able to, instead of going on the track, you'll be able to inhibit that response by just pausing. Check in with ease and choose a new direction. So if that was interesting or helpful to you, I would love to hear about it. And if you would like more information, please send me a message and we'll get in touch. And if you'd like to share this with anybody you know, that would be great. So take good care, and tomorrow will be day 163. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.